Hey guys, welcome to the video. I'm Chris Anderson, and today we're going to talk about Python conditions and if statements. So Python has 6 different logical conditions, and here's a list of what they are. You've got equals, not equal, less than or equal, greater than, and greater than or equal. And so you'll use these like in an if statement to evaluate an expression. And we're going to add some of these to some code in a little simple program that we're about to write. Now, in the previous video, we wrote all of our code in the Python interpreter. But this time we're going to open up and use Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to make a new directory. Let's see. All right, we'll make one here called conditionals. And we will go into there. And we'll make a new file for Python. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a new file by clicking on this new file icon here. And we'll call this drive.py for Python. And what I want to do is I want to take someone's age and print back a message on whether they can drive or not. So the first thing I'm going to do, let's say we'll just make a variable called age, and we'll set it to 17. And underneath, we're going to write an if statement and use that by if, and we'll say age. Let's say if you're greater than or equal to 16. And you end this with a colon. We're going to print, let's say you can drive. Okay. Now, one thing with if statements in Python is there has to be a tab to denote like you're entering the if statement. And that's, I think, 4 spaces. If you just hit tab, it should do it itself. And also, if you're in a like Visual Studio Code, it'll do it for you, so you don't really have to worry about it. But just to show you, if I don't have that tab here, we should get an error. So you see we're getting a little error message here. And if we run it, it'll break. So let's go ahead and hit that tab there. And this is just a very basic statement. So let's run this. You can run this by hitting the run Python file here. We'll run it. And you see we got a message here, you can drive. Because it's evaluating that 17 is greater than or equal to 16. All right, so the next thing I want to do, let's say we don't want to hard code this 17. We want to give the user an ability to input this information. So you can do that by putting in input, and we'll say, what is your age? And we'll start a new line by the \n. And so now it'll ask us that, and when we enter the age, it'll store it in that variable, and then it'll evaluate the if statement. But there's a catch here. So I want to show you something. Let me run this. What is your age? We'll put 17. Uh-oh, see what happened here? We have an error message. This is what I wanted to show you guys. And it says we're trying to, it's not supporting instances of string and int. So what's happening here is when we enter this age as 17, it's storing it in this variable age as a string. And now we're trying to evaluate a string to an integer. And so if you check out my previous video where I go through the different data types, I'll talk about, strings, integers, booleans, and how to see like what your data type is. But that's what's going on here. So what we have to do is called, it's casting. And what casting does is you can specify a type onto this variable. So we want to make this an int. Oh, you see here, even if I hover over it, it's as a string. So I want to cast this to an int. So we do that by putting the type int and wrapping that in some brackets there, some braces, or parentheses, I'm sorry. We wrap that in parentheses. And now we see it's transforming to an int. And if we run this again, and we enter 17, you can drive. So we just had to convert that to an integer. So the next thing, let's say we want if else. So let's say you're 15. What's going to happen in this program? What's your age? 15. Nothing happened. So we want to give the users a message as well if they're not able to drive, and you do that by saying else, and then we'll print you cannot drive. So if you're 16 or above, you can drive. If you're not, you cannot drive. And let's run that one more time, and we'll put 15 in here, and we get the message you cannot drive. There's also an else if. So let's say if you are, let's say if you're 15, you could get a learner's permit. I don't know what all the rules are now. This is years ago since I've had to go through this, but you do that with elseif, and let's say age equals 15. We're going to print you can get a learner's permit. Or how about this? You can drive with a parent or guardian. Let's put guardian. All right, so let's check out what we got now. If you're 16 or above, you can drive. Else if you're 15, then you can drive with a guardian. Else you cannot drive. So let's try this with 15 again and see what we get. 15, you can drive with a guardian. All right, so that's just basic if, else if, and else. How about it? We can do a nested conditional as well. Let's say we have, let's say we have a variable called past exam or test. Let's do a past exam. We'll say there's an exam that you need to pass to drive, and we'll say input, did you pass the exam? And we'll take a yes or no, question mark. And this will be a string. So what I want to do, let's say that we're going to do if you passed the exam, if passed exam equals yes, that's the value of the string. And then we're going to come in here and we're going to say if age is greater than 16, if age is greater than 16, then we're going to print you can drive. Else if, we're going to leave this here. Let me check this out. Let's run this and see. So if you pass the exam, then we'll come in here and you have access to driving. And if you did not pass the exam, then you cannot drive. But there's one condition that might be missing here, but let's test this out and see. All right, so I want to see your age is going to be 14. Did you pass the exam? Yes. All right, see, that's the one issue there. It didn't do anything because there's a missing statement here. So we're going to do another else within our nested, and we're going to print you cannot drive as well. Actually, there shouldn't be an exam at all, but that's, you know, I'm making this up as I go, but you get the point. So let's run this one more time. And we'll say, what is your age? We'll say we're 16. Did you pass the exam? Yes, we did. You can drive. All right, looks good. Let's say your age is 16. Did you pass the exam? No, you cannot drive. So far, so good. And let's test the other one with 14 who may have passed the exam. Maybe you can take the exam before you're old enough. Who knows? So we'll say age is 14. Did you pass the exam? Yes. You cannot drive. All right. So there you go, guys. That's how to take some information from the user, do an if statement and evaluate it, and put that into a nested statement as well. And also showing that you need to indent these statements, your if statements, or else you'll get an error. So guys, that wraps it up for today. Hope you enjoyed the video and look forward to the next one. Thank you.